Welcome to the Supply Geek podcast, the show that turns shipping containers and glossy corporate advertising into real stories worth sharing. I'm your host, Ben Thornton-Jones, and whether you're a supply chain geek like me, a conscious consumer, or just someone who's always wondered how the mint ends up in your toothpaste, you are in the right place. Each episode, we unpack the hidden stories behind the stuff we use and things we do every single day. From palm oil plantations to the milk supply chain, from cargo ships to carbon emissions. We're not just about moving goods, we're here to move minds. So grab your map of the world, adjust your safety vest of skepticism, and let's dive into the weird and wonderful world of supply chains. Let's get geeky. So my guest today, and number one mint geek, as I'm going to call you, is Vaibhav Agrawal. Vaibhav, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I think it's safe to say that mint has actually been a huge part of my life and my career for the last 5+ years. So I couldn't do this type of podcast without covering this fantastic supply chain and speaking to you. And I know that you have way more experience than just my mere 5 years. So please tell us a little bit about yourself, your career, and why do you know more than most people about mint?
Thank you very much, Ben, for inviting me for this podcast. And I think this is going to be a very wonderful podcast and a very wonderful opportunity for people to know more about mint supply chain, its challenges, and the different kind of variety. Because many time when people consume mint, probably they are not aware that from where it is actually coming. So it's going to be really very interesting podcast today. So introducing myself, as you already introduced, my name is Vaibhav Agrawal, and I live in western part of UP in India. So our area is actually dominated by the mint farms, and I did my engineering from 1994 to 1998. And after completing my engineering 1998, I joined my family business. So from last roughly 27 years, I am in this business of mint, handling mint, working with mint farmers, and supplying our product to the different clients who are using in the amazing products. So this 27 years of legacy experience, which is standing with me, it brings a little more knowledge to me compared to a normal individual.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and really looking forward to this conversation because I know you have a lot of the history as well behind how mint arrived in India as well, which was really interesting for me to hear a few years ago when I visited, but also really getting into who the farmers are, some of the supply chains and things. So let's get into the mint supply chain. I think most consumers' interactions with mint come from brushing their teeth twice a day. Usually mint is the standard flavor that you have in a toothpaste or a mouthwash and things like this for that fresh breath consistency that you have. And then perhaps during the day they could enjoy its, again, breath freshening properties through chewing gum or mint flavored sweets. And then I guess others could enjoy perhaps a peppermint tea or other herbal teas that might have an element of mint in it. But as you said, and I said previously, do we as consumers really know where our mint has come from? So I think let's really get into this conversation. And if we can kick off, what would be great to understand is if you can explain, firstly, what mint is, just as a basic level, perhaps the different varieties that we see. And also, I think it would be great also to hear the history behind why it's become a major crop in India.
Sure, Ben. So, to know more mint about, first thing is very important to differentiate that the amount of mint, the kind of mint we are using at our home, that is a different variety that is called as garden mint, which is usually done for the garden farming and for uses at our homes. But apart from that, there are three major commercial varieties of mint. So when we talk about mint, probably we don't know and we are not able to differentiate that what these varieties are. So the three major varieties are mentha arvensis. The second variety is mentha peperita, also very popular as peppermint. And third variety is mentha spicata, also very popular as spearmint. So talking about all these three varieties, mentha arvensis is basically a commercial source for making menthol and DM. Menthol, natural menthol is one of the major key items that is used in oral care, as explained by you also, and also in chewing gums and different kind of flavors, as well as in pharmaceuticals. Apart from that, you have mentha peperita, peppermint, which is again very popular flavor for again oral care as well as for chewing gums and all these pharmaceutical applications. And then comes spearmint, which is again a very major flavor in the oral care. So these are the three varieties, and these are commercially cultivated to and different varieties have different kind of leaves, different kind of plant material, and very different kind of oil profile and the smell profile.
Yeah, perfect. And yeah, explain. It'd be great to understand because, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's around 80% of the world's mint is produced in India,
Yeah,
with the remaining probably being around 20% in North America and a couple of other places. But it hasn't always been like that. And it was great for me to understand that. I think originally, was it Japan? Originally, perhaps had the mint variety, and then it came to India. It'd be great to hear that story.
yeah. Very interestingly, the mentha arvensis is also known as Japanese mint because it is believed that it was originated in Japan. So one of the name for mentha arvensis is also Japanese mint. And from Japan, it moved to different places. Then finally, it came to China. China became one of the major producer. And in the late 80s, the production started in India also when Richardson Hindustan, which is now acquired by P&G, they started doing the mint cultivation and they started promoting in the Tarai regions of UP. And soon it became a very popular crop among the farmers because it was an additional crop between the two crops, the major two staple crops. So it was very popular among the farmers. And in the 90s, when there was some flooding in China, then the prices increased very much, and then farmers see the real opportunity and potential in this crop. So it become very, very popular among the farmers, and with the scale and size of farming which is done in India, India become the world number one producer for this. So talking about mentha arvensis alone, I think India is the biggest producer. More than 99% of the production is done in India. But we see mint at a composite like mentha peperita, spearmint, and mentha arvensis. Yeah, India represent more than 80% of the natural mint industry.
Yeah, which is just huge, and I think it would be great to get into some of these. First of all, what scale are we talking here? Roughly, what is the annual production of mint oil in tons that is coming from India each year?
I would say that talking about mentha arvensis, approximately 30,000 tons is the present production for mentha arvensis, and approximately like 500 tons for peppermint and 300 tons for spearmint. These are the volumes which India is doing right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we're going to be doing other materials on this podcast. Maybe we're going to be talking about palm oil, which the scale of that in terms of tonnage is going to be much bigger than what you just mentioned about mint. But of course, mint is a oil, it's a
Mhm,
flavor.
mhm.
Actually, you need very little goes a long way. And therefore, the numbers that you're talking about, even though it may seem small versus other materials, actually, that's an incredible amount of oil that services and goes into all of the different products that we can come on to and talk about. So, a fantastic material.
Yeah, actually, the impact is so high for the mint that even if you are taking very, very a small molecule of mint in your mouth, you are going to feel sensation from quite a long time. So that's the reason that the even a small amount of mint can make a big difference in your product actually.
Absolutely. And I think what's really interesting as well, you touched on it slightly there, that when you have a mint oil, which I think we'll get into the supply chain in a second for people to understand how a mint plant becomes a drum or a barrel of mint oil, and then all the other parts of the supply chain that we work on. But actually, what you're getting from mint and what I see from mint is almost two things. One, you're getting the menthol sensation, if you like. So actually, when people have something that has a menthol or a menthol hit, actually they're getting that coldness, almost that spice within their mouth, which is more of a sort of physical sensation. But of
Hmm.
course, the other side of mint is the flavor.
Yes.
And those things can be separated as well, which again we'll come on to. But yeah, really interesting to hear and understand that. Maybe next we could get into the basics of people understanding the supply chain of mint. Mint is a plant. You'll have fields of that grown and it's obviously harvested. How does a mint plant have the oil extracted? What is the process of doing that? And perhaps then you could also talk about yourselves as Norex, what you then do with the raw mint oil, because you also then have a next step in the supply chain where you process it into different things.
Yeah. So when mint farms, as already explained by you, they are done by farmers. And after that, there are field distillation units, which are either owned by farmers or they are owned by a collective big farmer who can do on the job work for other farmers also. So on these kind of distilleries, farmers can harvest their material and they can take the plant material for the distillation. The process here is used as steam distillation. So in this, there is a vessel where they put all the steam leaves. The vessel is closed, and from the bottom they pass the steam in that material. Sometimes when you don't have access to the steam boiler, they directly boil the water also in the bottom, and this way the vapors they go through the plant material. And on the top there is a pipe through which the steam is going through. And when this steam is passing through the plant material, it take out the volatile of the oil basically from the plant material, and this oil and steam mixture that comes in a device which is called as condenser. This condenser is filled with water, and this pipe tube is actually cooled down there. And this steam mixture and oil mixture, it is converted into a liquid phase, which can be collected in a receiver. Now, in this receiver, whatever we are receiving is a mixture of water and oil. By virtue of gravity, the oil floats on the top and water goes down. So this way, the farmers and distillers, they are able to separate the uh, water as well as the oil. And this way, the oil is collected, which is called as crude mint oil. Now, these kind of crude mint oils are bought by companies like Norex, and then we are processing it to make the different kind of products.
Yeah, perfect. And one of those steps, as you said earlier, is to actually some customers of yours only want the flavor element. So they almost want the menthol removed from the oil just to kind of leave the flavor sensation. And then also by doing that, you're left also with the menthol element that is also then wanted by some people as well. So I find it really interesting that you start with a plant, which is mint. As you explained, then it moves to, it has to be distilled. So you this distillation unit, which I'll try and flash up an image for people watching on YouTube in the video version to see what one of these tanks looks like. But it kind of looks like a huge metal cooking pot. And essentially that process of distillation and condensing removes the oil from the mint leaves and the agricultural material. And then this is separated from the water, as you said, to become the mint oil. But then that next step to have mint oil can then be further stripped down into its component elements, and those are then purchased by flavor houses and other people that eventually make flavors and other components that may go into toothpaste, chewing gums, all of the other products that we can come on to. So such an interesting supply chain and the different steps that it goes through. Vaibhav, can you talk a little bit about, let's get into the farmers themselves particularly. It would be great to understand a little bit about, you talked about, you call it UP, which is the shortened version of Uttar Pradesh, one of the largest states in India. It'd be great to understand a little bit more about Uttar Pradesh, the importance of mint there. Also, how many farmers are working with mint, and also what do we mean when we talk about a farmer? I think it would be great for people to understand this is a smallholder farmer that has a relatively small plot of land as well. So yeah, if we can focus on the farmers now, it'd be great to understand farmers that are farming mint in UP.
Yeah. Definitely, Ben. So UP, also called as Uttar Pradesh, it is a biggest one of the biggest state in UP by population, in India by population, and it houses approximately 250 million people. So you can assume that how big this state is, and almost there are many farmers. The state economy is basically dependent on the farming, and approximately 2 million these farmers, UP farmers, they are engaged in the mint cultivation. And talking about the farmers, they are mainly marginal farmers who are mainly cultivate. They are mainly engaged into the mint basically. So each farmers might be having half acre of land, 1 acre of land, or 1.5 acre of land. But if you see the average land holding of the farmers, it will come between 0.8 acres to 1 acre. It is completely different to the other part of world where the 1,000 acres or 2,000 acre is a normal size for a farm. So with the 0.8 acre for 1 acre, you can understand that how difficult it is for a farmer to mechanize thing and to do more and more things by hand. So the role of farmers is really important because they are growing mint, then only we are able to get the oil, and then we are able to process the flavors, and then end customers are able to enjoy the freshness in the oral care product as well as chewing gums and in the several products. So it's really important to discuss the role of these farmers.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting because I think the other interesting thing for people to understand, and actually we've done other materials in this series, such as vanilla. Um, uh, I think sometimes people might have the preconception that when they talk about a farmer of, let's say, mint, they may think that it's the only thing that they're farming, but that's far from it, correct? I mean, the mint season, usually from planting around the start of the year through to harvesting the mint around June time or before the monsoon rains come. Then these farmers move on to many other crops. So probably even themselves wouldn't necessarily class themselves as just mint farmers, but it's just one of the key materials that they farm as part of their full yearly cycle.
Yeah. So technically, Ben, it is not a 1 year crop. It is like crop for 3 months or 4 months, technically. And with the mint, usually they take out 3 crops in a year, including mint. The very common is like potato, mint, and paddy, which is also called as rice. And there are many other options which farmers are doing, but uh, potato, mint, and paddy, it is one of the most popular series. So idea is that farmers do the potato, which they harvest around January and February. After potato, they go for mint. Mint is harvested around from May to July. And after July, there is rainy season in India, so they go for the plantation of paddy rice. And once they finish the rice crop, then they move to the potato. So it is quite a laborious kind of crop. And the benefit for the farmers is that it is an additional crop which is coming between the two major crops that are potato and rice. Sometimes potatoes are replaced by wheat also. So many farmers are doing like wheat, mint, and rice. So different kind of combinations are there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find interesting when you talk about the, very traditional is mint followed by paddy, rice, as you said, and then potato. Interesting that with rice and potato, as soon as they're ready to harvest, they need to either be consumed or eaten straight away, unless you want to put them into, like potato, into cold storage, which obviously costs some money. But mint is this interesting crop that obviously after you've distilled it and turned it into an oil form, I think, am I right in saying people sometimes class it as, they call it liquid gold? Because in a way, it could be this thing that I think most people do obviously try and make a profit and sell their oil straight away, but it does have this ability to have some shelf life. You don't necessarily need to be forced to sell it straight away. It could be something that could be saved perhaps for another occasion where you need to make some money from it.
In fact, Ben, you have touched a very really important point because mint is often considered as a liquid gold for the farmers. Because if you talk about potato or if you talk about paddy rice, they either need to be consumed, sold immediately to the processor, or they need to be stored in a specialized warehouse storage, cold storage, where the cost of storing is very high. But mint gives in the oil form, it gives a kind of bargaining power to the farmer where they can keep this oil with them. And when the season is over and the prices are a little bit better, they can bargain for a better price that when prices are better, they can sell. And there is no hurry for them to sell because it is good for 5 years. As per the validation, it is good for 5 years. So farmer can keep it like the farmer daughter is getting married in like 4 months, 5 months. That time he or she needs money. So at that time, they can sell the material or some major festivals like Diwali, Eid. These major festivals are coming. Then at that time, they can sell the material instead of selling immediately at the reduced price.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Just and that advantage that you can take from the type of material that it is versus, as you say, paddy, rice, or potato. I think it's really interesting and gives that extra option for the farmer as well. Let's talk a little bit about the inputs that farmers need to be able to grow mint. I think it'd be interesting to understand. I mean, I think I've understood after my time working with mint that it's quite a thirsty crop. Like, it needs a lot of water, as do many others as well. But to actually grow mint, what are the type of inputs that a farmer is having to consider when interacting and growing a crop like mint?
Yeah. So the first and basic foremost thing is the mint root, because without mint root you cannot create a stolon, and that stolon is the key for the mint farming. So the mint root is one of the basic input. Apart from that, you need some basic fertilizers like some sort of urea in the field if the field is requiring that amount of nitrogen or other, and you need water. These are the basic inputs actually, and mint does not require a lot of inputs. One of the benefit with the mint is also that the stray animals, because of the pungent smell of mint, they stay away from this crop. So farmers don't have to care for the mint crops from the stray animals also. So that kind of costs are also saved for the farmers in this.
Yeah, I always found that really interesting. And even that, having the pleasure of visiting India, you do see across the agriculture areas, you see these stray cows and things like this, and they can cause a real issue coming onto people's land and trampling or even eating their crops. But like you say, a real positive that the cows and other livestock and animals don't seem to like the flavour of mint. So actually they avoid these, which is really positive for the farmer not to come and find all his or her hard work has been trampled by some animal in the when they've not been there. So yeah, a really positive thing. Uh, let's perhaps now that we've understood how mint is produced, that it's a great crop for the farmers. Let's start to talk about some of the challenges that farmers are seeing. It'd be great for you to go through those, the challenges that farmers see either through the price of mint, either through competition that they're seeing, or even through things like the extreme heat that we've seen, especially in Uttar Pradesh, and especially in that harvesting season.
Mhm. Yeah, Ben. So different kind of challenges farmers are having. One of the major challenges for the lower size of the land they are having. So they cannot do the mechanization and they have to depend a lot of things on the manual labor. So that is a major challenge for the farmers. Apart from that, the pricing, which is one of the major part, because there are many synthetic alternatives are coming for the mint in the market, and that is forcing farmers to sell at a lower price to compete with the synthetic material. So this is somehow kind of detrimental for the farmers, that they are not able to maintain their livelihood which they used to have a couple of years ago. So these are again a major challenges, and then getting all the inputs on time and doing the farming, getting the best advisory. So these are some basic challenges which farmers are facing on day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I remember visiting and speaking to people about. Of course, we talked about a lot of water being needed for all agriculture. It's not just mint, but mint, of course, needs it as well. And for people to understand that, to access this water um, in Uttar Pradesh, people dig these boreholes. So this is digging, holes and pipes directly into the ground because, of course, underneath the fields you have the water table. You have water underneath the ground, and as I understood from speaking to many people in India, that people are having to dig lower and lower because the water table is actually reducing, impacted perhaps by, yes, the amount of water that is being used, because Uttar Pradesh is a huge agricultural region that a lot of water is needed. But of course, the impact of climate change, the extreme temperatures that we're seeing as well, all of those things, and of course, a growing population, everything is putting pressure on the water system, meaning that people need to access that more and more and more. And so I think, some of the things that we'll come on to that will be interesting later is methods to actually reduce the amount of water needed for cultivating different materials, in this case, particularly mint. But let's talk a little bit next, coming back to farmers and the state of Uttar Pradesh. I think it would be really interesting for people to understand as well, on top of the challenges that are happening. Let's step back a second and maybe look at some of the products that are the leading products of where mint goes into. I know, obviously, yourself as a company very active in this. Maybe you could explain what are the major consumers of mint and which products they go into. And then I think it would also be really great to not forget what you mentioned earlier, which is this notion of synthetic mint. So actually, for people to realize that, yes, mint is a natural material, but actually what we've seen come into the market is a route where the same flavor or menthol could potentially come from not a mint plant, but from a more chemical and synthetic route.
Mhm. Yeah. So when oral care is indeed the biggest user for the mint as a flavor as well as a cooling agent across the industry. So, daily everybody likes to start with the brushing of the teeth and also the evening that closes with the brushing of the teeth. And apart from that, mouthwashes, these are one of the major sources for the uh, in the demand for the oral care. And there have been many attempts, but mint has always been the predominant flavor in this domain because the amount of freshness it provides, it cannot be taken by any other material. Apart from that, on the second, confectionery, chewing gums, they are one of the biggest uh, factor because brushing you can do morning and evening, but during the day, if you want fresh breath after some meeting or something, then having a chewing gum or having a mint tablet or having some sort of confectionery, it is one of the biggest uh, user in this. Apart from that, another important segment is like pharmaceuticals. So you have many mint oil tablets. If you have some stomach pain or some other issues, you can have that oil tablet, and it is a completely perfect uh, gastro thing where it can cure your stomach pain and it can relieve the gastritis very immediately. Apart from that, in the pharmaceuticals, you have seen much kind of pain balms and different kind of medicines which are made with menthol and other mint oils. Uh, so pharmaceuticals, confectionery, and oral care, these are the major sectors. But apart from that, cosmetics and personal care is also one of the major sector, which is using a lot of mint oils and menthol. So many of the hair oils, many of the creams, cosmetics, they are containing a small amount of this menthol and mint oil. So the application is very wide. When we work as a mint company, sometimes it is very difficult to realize that whether we are a pharmaceutical company or we are a food company or we are a general chemical company or recently we are learning that now many companies, a couple of companies actually, they have started using natural mint as a natural insecticides for the uh, for the gardens in their home and as well as for the mass agriculture uses also. So that is opening a new avenue for the mint products actually.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I think it's amazing for people to understand. I mean, like we said at the start, I think a lot of people, if they stop to think about mint and how they interact with it, of course, brushing their teeth, as you said, is a major one. A chewing gum. But yeah, this application that it goes into other things. I think it's been a long time. I've seen these peppermint oils that, or even people saying have a peppermint tea to try and settle some nausea or some feeling of sickness to settle your stomach. So I think there's lots of different avenues. And then, of course, I think people, certainly in the UK and perhaps wider, there's been, over the last few years, a major shower gel that has promoted its freshness and its feeling on mint as well. So I think there's lots and lots of avenues and areas that it really touches our lives. But yeah, coming back to that, it'd be great to also touch on the point around synthetic. I think this is one where we talked a lot about. We have to call it the natural mint supply chain, but there is the synthetic route as well. Maybe you could explain how that is, created. What
Mhm.
is the process around synthetics? Which are the major markets for that, and how that is touching again on the impact that it's having on the natural mint and menthol industry?
Yeah. So Ben, during the conversation, we talk about that the current mint production is approximately 30,000 tons for the mentha arvensis. Uh, Historically, it was as good as like 55,000 tons. But when synthetic mint came, actually, the natural mint farming has come down, and it is even going down further. The problem is that synthetic menthol, which is made from the petrochemical, is coming extremely cheap. And there are certain chemical reactions which big houses are making, and they are able to produce this synthetic menthol at a very cheap price. And because this is available at very cheap price, so it is replacing a lot of natural mint around the world in the different applications, and in oral care specifically, in pharmaceuticals and many other places, lot of synthetic mint is being used because of the cost advantage. And to keep competition with the synthetic menthol, natural menthol has also and mint has also reduce the prices to bring down the prices, which is not as low as synthetic, but they are significantly lower. So, for example, natural mint menthol was a commodity which was being sold as like $20, $25 per kg. The prices have gone down to like $14, $15 per kg. It is giving a significant amount of drop to the livelihood of the farmers who are engaged, as well as the complete supply chain.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and that impact. I mean that's really significant. You talk about 30,000 tons now, but it could have been as high as 55,000. I mean, it's taking a huge chunk of the market,
Mhm.
and as you say, what is that always driven by? It's driven by price. What are the main differences between a natural mint oil and a synthetic? Because I think probably what certainly wins over, or at least from my understanding, is this more rounded and improved flavor profile. Would that be right?
It is actually depending on from flavorist to flavorist that what is their proposition. So chemically, both are same basically. So if you see the natural menthol structure or synthetic menthol structure, chemically they are same. But with the natural menthol, we have seen that it has more kind of better flavor because it has lot of other fruity raw materials also, which are oftenly missing in the material which is processed with the chemical process, because that is coming more clean and more like only the menthol taste, whereas it has some fruity esters also. The natural menthol has sort of fruity esters and some other natural components also, which is giving a little bit better and rounded flavor. So this way, natural menthol, of course, has better application in the different product, whereas where only the cooling and little amount of flavor and more cooling is required, then synthetic menthol is more preferred for the cost advantage.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think, people listening to this as consumers, I think a lot of people have a interest and a heightened interest in their foods and other products that they consume, coming from natural sources, coming from the earth and not coming from chemical or synthetic routes. So, of course, it has a role to play, and I think it will continue to. But I think I've certainly in the role that I have and working in consumer focused businesses, that a lot of the analysis and studies coming back are that many consumers do drive high value, and we see it in the advertising from different brands that they promote themselves on, no artificial flavors or um, you know natural products within natural materials within their products. So I think this is one other advantage that natural mint has to be able to promote itself versus the onslaught of synthetic as well.
Yeah, Ben. I think my opinion here is very clear that I'm not against synthetic menthol. That's a technology, that's a science which has been created by the genius scientist. But my talk is that any consumer who is using the mint-based product, they have right to know that whether they are using synthetic or artificial material or natural material, because they even don't know that the product they were using was using the natural ingredient when has been converted to a synthetic material. And uh, the consumer should definitely have a right to know that what they are consuming.
Absolutely, and this comes back to the ethos and the theory behind wanting to launch this podcast series. I've had the privilege of being able to work with people like yourselves and others within the supply chain to really understand myself yes, as someone working in business, but as a consumer as well myself, to understand. And I take a huge interest. I'm a supply geek myself in the supply chains behind materials, but I don't think this is easy for many consumers. So what we're trying to promote here is for people to come and understand more behind the materials that go into the products and the materials that they consume or use every single day. So if they're just listening to this conversation, they're taking a first step to truly understand, and then they can take a more conscious choice in terms of what they're buying on the shelf. So let me summarize just a little bit because we've gone through a lot there. The mint supply chain, I think what we've talked about is India being the largest market for natural mint. Of course, there being this synthetic mint that can be on the market as well that has provided some challenge. We're talking about the state of Uttar Pradesh. I think you said around a 250 million population. I think I'm right in saying the landmass for some
Landmass.
scale for people.
Yes.
I think UP is about the size land-wise of the United Kingdom, but with a population of 250 million means it's, about 4 or 5 times the population of the United Kingdom. So to give people a sense of how populous this state in India is, of course, on top of India now being the largest population country in the world. And yes, mint is generally grown by farmers on a very small plot of land that they have, less than an acre usually, and they grow mint at the start of the year, and then they follow this up traditionally by moving on to rice, paddy, and potatoes. And we touched on some of the challenges that they're seeing from climate, water, competitors in the market, as well as other things. So a fantastic supply chain and great to get into. I think now what would be really interesting is to understand, look, there's all of these challenges, but the way that we always like to finish is leaving consumers with a really positive message. What can be the positive, more sustainable and resilient route for mint? And I think with Norex, you've got a fantastic program in Sankalp. So it'd be great to understand how this program came about, what are the focus areas and what achievements that you've seen that have helped not only the farmers, but helped yourself as a company?
Ben, Sankalp is a program which is very close to my heart. Sankalp is basically a Sanskrit word, and in English it means determination. That we have taken an oath or determination that we have to do something. The three major pillars around Sankalp is they are: number one is that how we can enhance the income of the farmers and how we can do the traceable farming. So this is one of the first pillar, and the second pillar is that what we can do for the empowerment of the people and for the welfare of the labor and communities around that. And the third major pillar is that what we can do for the environment, like we discussed, that mint is using a lot of water. Apart from that, like pesticides and fertilizers are used. So what we can do exactly to preserve the uh, uses of water and to reduce or eliminate the use of pesticides, and how we can reduce the dependency on the fertilizers. So overall contributing to the environment. So these are the three major pillars in which the entire Sankalp program is moving around. So one of the first pillar about the enhancement of the income of the farmer, it is really very, very important because as I told you that farmers are already under pressure because of synthetic menthol, and they are getting lesser prices for their mint oil per kg compared to what they used to get like 4 to 5 years ago. So what we are doing is that we are working closely with CMAP. CMAP, for the your listeners, I would like to tell that this is Institute for Medicinal and Aromatic Plants, and this institution is very much instrumental in developing new varieties of the mint. Like within mentha arvensis, they try to enhance the variety, that how we can get the better productivity for this. So there are different elements. One element is the better agronomy, and another element is like better kind of crop material. And third element is that how is the better process, how we can improve the distillation efficiency to improve the yield. So together with all these efforts, uh, like a couple of years ago, the average yield farmers were getting was hardly 45 kgs or 50 kgs per acre for the mint oil. Today, with these interventions of like new crop variety, better agronomy, and improved distillation practices, farmer get dry as like 70-75 kgs of oil per acre. And
Wow.
even some of the progressive farmers, they are able to get like 80 to 85 kgs who are taking all the parts of the practices. So they are getting up to 80 to 85 kgs per acre. And even the farmers who are not taking care much, they are even getting like 60 kgs or something. So there is a strong improvement in the overall output of the farmers, which is leading to their income, even if they are realizing less prices per kg. The overall income output is very much improved because of these sustainable programming. Talking about like communities, there are a lot of focus on the different things. Like one of the things is that how to develop the alternate income for the farmers to reduce their dependency on the wind farming only, like having a protein garden or having some other business model for them which they can do at home. A lot of things are being done for the women also. If we see the social status of UP, India, and especially UP, you will find very less women farmers. Majority of the farmers are men, but there are a lot of women who are working as laborers in the field. So we try to make sure that there is no gender discrimination, and the women laborers are, they are getting paid as equivalent to the male laborers. So this is something. And apart from that, how we can educate and how we can empower the women, that is also one of the major things. Because if women is educated and empowered, they give better education and better direction to their children, and that provide create a very strong base for the development of the rural economy. Apart from that, a lot of things about sanitation, hygiene, health camps, education. So these kind of things are being done. Coming to environment, at Sankalp, what we are focusing is like semi-organic mint farming. We are not doing 100% organic. So what we are doing is that we are using organic methods in the conventional farming. So we have replaced urea with uh, Jivamrit and other local organic inputs. Apart from that, we are using marigold plant nurseries in the border of the fields and in middle of the field, because the marigold flower, which is of yellow color, when that's come really are attracted towards the yellow. So they don't go on the mint form. Basically, they go on the that yellow flower basically. So because of that, the uses of pesticide has come down uh, in the mint form. And apart from that, we are using a lot of uh, other organic input, which are reducing the overall uses of the water in the farming. So these are some of the improvements that are being done. Uh, there are a lot of things actually that are being done. This is just a brief summary that what is being done via the Sankalp program.
Yeah, and I think it's a fantastic program. And, again, had the pleasure of being able to visit and be hosted by yourself and taken to go and speak with farmers. And I think the proof is in hearing from farmers that they have seen the benefits of this program, of the support that they've been given as being part of the Sankalp program. As you said, the improved species of mint and variety that they've been provided, larger leaves, more potential for the mint oils to be within it, more resilient to heat and water and any flooding as well. But also, as you said, the community benefits that you've brought to that, and then the improvements in environmental performance. And I think it would be right in saying a few things that, of course, with all of these type of programs, we see the benefits, but always great for a third party to come in and recognize this. I know that it's been important to you to have this recognized under a well-recognized certification scheme. I know that you've engaged with something called SAI, farm sustainability assessment, which is quite well recognized globally for an assessment of these type of programs on farm to see that health and safety standards and other social standards are being met. And you've achieved SAI FSA status through the Sankalp program, which is fantastic. And then let's not forget the other thing, which was great. A couple of days ago, you sent me a WhatsApp with a video showing that you were recently attending the IFIAT conference, which is the big conference held every year for the flavour industry, and you won a award for your work on this in the mint industry. I can think a couple of those things we can post as part of this podcast. But congratulations for that. I think the recognition is fantastic on both of those things, and it's making a real impact. Maybe the final thing just to touch on is to say that it would be really interesting to hear. I think you've done some studies recently to see how the comparison on carbon footprint of producing mint, a natural route versus synthetic, but also measuring the carbon footprint, particularly of the Sankalp program, because of the interventions that you've done. Maybe you could explain a little bit on that and what the results have been showing.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you very much, Ben, for congratulating me on this award thing. And it was really a pleasure because, honestly speaking, getting award for Norex is not new for me, but getting award for sustainability, getting our program recognized among the international audience with I think, in a crowd of 2,000 people in Sweden, that was something amazing. So, thank you very much. And uh, coming to the carbon footprint thing, of course, the carbon footprint has become very important, and whatever work we are doing, we need to also analyze and also prove to our customers as well as to community also that it is bringing overall holistic improvement in the system. Because one of the benefit of this kind of agriculture sustainability program is that we are behind the sustainability. It is not about talks. It is about also regenerating farming and how we are adding values to the soil, adding value back to the soil. So one of the major impact we have done here is that we have done carbon footprint study for synthetic menthol. Synthetic menthol was already available in the public domain from the synthetic menthol producers, but we have done carbon footprint study for the natural mint crops. And what we have find that the sustainable way of producing, we are significantly able to reduce the carbon footprint even compared to the synthetic menthol. For the natural menthol, we are able to produce much better carbon footprint actually. And our idea is that we will bring this supply chain to close to zero by 2050. And we have already submitted the recommendations. So let's hope for the best.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's so great to hear because, like I say, in this podcast series, we're looking at lots of different materials and a lot of them that go back to agricultural or natural sources. And it's where a lot of the carbon footprint is consumed. But what we see from programs like yourselves and others that will go through in different crops is there is a low carbon natural route for all of these things. It may not be the common path that's being used widely across the industry at the moment, but things like regenerative agriculture, organic agriculture, and bringing innovation to farmers to bring them different energy sources and different routes for their farming, and moving away from chemical fertilizers and pesticides and things, I think is the way forward when a lot of pressure is put on farmers around the world to help us produce the goods that's required for a growing global population. So I think it's really, really fantastic to hear, and a great way, I think, to finish this fantastic conversation. Vaibhav, as I say, mint has a very dear place in my heart because of the amount of time and passion and the privilege I've had to visit India a couple of times through my work to see the mint farmers and the mint supply chain. I've so enjoyed today's conversation, and I really hope that anyone listening, next time they're brushing their teeth or they're having a piece of chewing gum, they will have a newfound appreciation after listening to this as to who has been behind that mint, the steps that it's gone through, and then the huge passion that people bring to this fantastic crop. So, thank you so much again for today. It's been great speaking to you again, and I wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Really a pleasure to be part of this podcast. And what I really like is that we started with the basic introduction of Mint. We talked about challenges, but in the end, we closed it on a positive note. We talked about the positives. We talked about the Sankalp program, that how it is bringing change to the lives of the farmer. And we talked about the lower carbon footprint with the sustainable mint. So, really a pleasure to be part of this podcast. And I believe that whoever consumer will listen to this, when they will be brushing their teeth next time, or they will be using mouthwash, or they will be having any chewing gum or mint. Probably they will think that from where this mint is coming, and that will be a great tribute to the farmers who are backbone of this entire value chain. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, and speak again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, sir.
Vaibhav.